Ms. Nardi, Somaliland is a critical U.S. maritime security partner in Africa. It sits along the Gulf of Aden near one of the world's busiest shipping corridors, and its forces actively contribute to counterterrorism and anti-piracy missions. Somaliland stands with our allies, including Taiwan and Israel, and aligns with U.S. interests in a region where China is aggressively expanding. Somaliland has offered the United States a military basing agreement and a critical minerals partnership. They are willing to work with us to counter China's malign influence and terrorist networks. This is the kind of partner we should be encouraging, and one that will shape how we confront maritime security challenges across the continent. Earlier this year, I sent a letter to President Trump urging formal recognition of Somaliland. Unsurprisingly, the Chinese Communist Party immediately condemned that letter, which only underscores how strategically important Somaliland is to U.S. national security. What tools and partnerships could the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement employ to help the United States deepen cooperation with Somaliland to advance our common maritime security and law enforcement interest, especially against threats facing the Horn of Africa?
Thank you, Senator, for that question. INL does not currently have any active programming in Somaliland, and our focus in the Horn of Africa is, in general, maritime security. I mentioned the Center of Excellence that we are working with Djibouti to establish, which will cover that region and then a little bit further south. We have worked with Somalia in the past and Djibouti on maritime vessel boarding and investigations, but those programs are coming to an end. We certainly can review capabilities. We would begin any program with an assessment of needs, and we would work in close cooperation with the Africa Bureau and the State Department to determine their priorities for Somaliland. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sylvester, Senator Booker asked about undersea cables. Undersea cables are the arteries of the modern global economy. Africa is linked to the world through 77 cable networks that power its digital markets, support millions of jobs, and drive trade and innovation. But these cables are exposed to vulnerability. Just last year, cable cuts left parts of Nigeria offline at a cost of nearly $600 million in just 4 days. Repairs run into the millions, and outages ripple far beyond borders. Even worse, there are less than 100 cable repair ships across the world, of which only 3 of those service Africa, and only 1 is homeported in Africa. Our adversaries understand that if you can control or disrupt digital infrastructure, you can hold economies hostage. That's why maritime security is not just about protecting freedom of navigation and open commerce, but also about protecting the cables beneath the seafloor that nations depend on. Strong, secure, and open digital links means stronger trade ties, resilient supply chains, and a continent less vulnerable to Beijing's chokehold. Mr. Sylvester, what roles should U.S. maritime cooperation play in helping African nations diversify cable routes, protect high-risk shallow water zones, and improve rapid response capabilities, especially considering that only 1 cable repair ship is homeported on the entire African coast?
Thank you, Senator, for that question, and again for highlighting this important issue. So I would go back to the importance of building a resilient undersea cable system globally, which includes, of course, around the continent of Africa. So when we see these cable cuts, for example, there was an incident in the Red Sea following a Houthi attack where 25% of the transcontinental data traffic was stalled, so in addition to the examples that you mentioned. So the resilience really is key there. The second is we do have a leading company here in the United States, and we, as the State Department, are focused on promoting those U.S. companies as viable and trusted vendors across Africa. So while there are a limited number of these ships, the U.S. does have a good alternative to offer in the commercial space. And the third is, again, educating the host countries that either have landings or want to put the investment in to have those cable landings So on that front, we need to ensure that they know the data security risks and the malign influence that they would be exposed to if they were to go with an untrusted vendor.